Palenque. If we open Wikipedia, we will find out that this is a Yucatec Maya archaeological site in South Mexico, and it's dating to the Maya period of history. Kind of seems obvious looking at the architectural style of the complex, and it seems to be further confirmed by inscriptions of various dates on the walls of the complex. However, the Russian expedition of Andrei Sklarov, led by Andrei Sklarov, consists of people who prefer that they do the thinking for themselves and see the facts for themselves instead of letting the Wikipedia do the thinking for them. Palenque is world famous because of the stone carving found on the lid of the sarcophagus in the main burial chamber of the complex. Till date, people argue, is this really a depiction of the Mayan ruler who was buried here, or is this some sort of alien operating a sophisticated machinery? Andrei Sklarov and his expedition noticed a couple of things uh, after visiting the archaeological location, which would seriously question its dating, however, or at least they would question who originally established this city. Was it really the Mayas first to build it out there in the jungle? Please have a look at these stairs and the building blocks that were used in their construction. These blocks weighed at least some 200-300 kilos, and although originally they were with very regular shape, one side of them, the side which was exposed to the weather and the erosion factors from outside, this particular site got so heavily eroded that the stones actually have almost lost their regular shape. Such type of aging cannot be achieved for mere 2000 years, and that itself would question if the Mayas were the first to inhabit this city. Second of all, the quality of the masonry works that is noticeable on these stones is far beyond the capabilities of the primitive tools and masonry knowledge that the Mayas had. They couldn't have shaped these stones so well on the side. Most likely, these huge stone blocks, were part of some sort of construction that was already fallen down. And since the Maya tribes could not do anything with them, first of all, they were too difficult to work with them. The Mayas, as you can see in the other parts of the construction, they didn't have any sophisticated tools to really carve the stones into some other shape. On the other side, the stones were too heavy to transport them very far away, so they decided to do something very practical with them and constructed that staircase. Most likely, when the Mayas starting building their city at this location, they found already ruins. Probably the old stone structures were already in a very bad condition, and this guess could be made, for example, looking at this stone wall on the site at the Mayan stadium. They were apparently just those old big stones were just some of them here and there, scattered all over the place. Uh, Take a close look at these three absolutely different styles of masonry work located right next to each other. It is very obvious that the big stones belong to completely different culture of building, and they cannot compare with the very rough work on the sides with the two rough styles of masonry that you can see on the sides, and the two rough styles they perfectly fit with the tools and sophistication that the primitive Mayas had at their disposal. There are also other excavated parts of the ancient Palenque city, and in a great number of buildings here and there amongst the unshaped stones which the Mayas were using as a rule in their construction, in their masonry. In between them, here and there, we can see perfectly shaped stones with very smooth polishing on all sides. Such a polishing and such shaping is absolutely impossible to be achieved without sophisticated masonry tools, which the Mayans did not have at all. And it is most logical to suggest in this case that they simply were using blocks that were laying around, blocks that they inherited from the previous civilization which had settlement at this location. The most beautiful part of the city of Palenque is the so-called palace. Although this is a wonderful, amazing example, a beautiful example of the Maya masonry achievements, although it is so captivating, still the quality of its work cannot at all compare with the quality of the base on the much older base on which this palace was built on, and um, most most visible is this base on the northern side of the palace, where the remains come out of the ground. Nowhere in the official history of Mesoamerica there is a civilization which possessed nearly such advanced masonry knowledge or tools that would allow building such a perfectly shaped stone wall out of megalith blocks. The fact that below the construction in typical Mayan style, um, one can find traces of older ancient construction, which has nothing to do with the capabilities of the Mayas. This fact is absolutely ignored and is not mentioned in any of the official historic researches that are published by the official historic establishment about this archaeological site. One more point worth consideration is the effect of earthquakes on the city. If you have a careful look at the Inca construction on the top, you will see that it is relatively very well preserved because it is approximately 2000 years old, and although here and there some earthquakes did live there, traces on the buildings, still they're well preserved in general. However, if you look at the parts on which are more ancient, which probably belonged to that advanced, very old civilization, you will see that the stones have moved considerably, and this is indirect proof that actually they have seen much more earthquakes during their lifetime, so to say. It means they were here much longer than the Inca construction. Actually, this megalithic stone masonry very much resembles the polygonal masonry left by the so-called gods in other locations like Egypt and Pumapunku. On the screen you can see comparison photos from Egypt and Palenque. Another curious detail that maybe could give us some clues about who originally established this city is the fact that its main buildings are not facing exact north or south, or they do not face the directions exactly, but with a slight deviation. And this slight deviation, actually, it is very common for buildings that were built many thousands of years ago. They would actually point towards the old North Pole, which at that time was located in nowadays Greenland. And the fact that the original base of this so-called palace is also pointing towards the old North Pole, and subsequently the Mayas built their palace on already existing base facing the same direction, only shows that they were just using a structure that was already there since much before they came. But this is not the end of the facts that make the official version that is given to us by the official history about Palenque rather questionable. Next comes the question about who was really buried in the main sarcophagus in the main burial chamber of Palenque. The Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruz, who first discovered this sarcophagus, initially described the finding like this. He said that the teeth of the man who was buried in the main sarcophagus were not encrusted as all the teeth of the noble and important Mayas. And this is what he wrote at the time he made the findings. Later on in his life, he magically started claiming exactly the opposite. Why did he start giving completely different versions? And by the way, the skeleton in the main sarcophagus was not the only skeleton found in that room. There were other skeletons of people who were supposedly sacrificed over there, and their remains were very well preserved and their teeth were encrusted, which was typical for the Mayas at that historical moment. However, however, we can conclude that the remains in the main sarcophagus were much older, because there is a note that it was impossible to even say if the skull was deformed or elongated, or what was exactly the form of the skull. Obviously, we are talking of not well preserved skull in this case. The questions about this skeleton don't end up here. Of course, the official historians are readily dating that body, the remains of that body, but suspiciously they only take into consideration the writings on the walls of the temple, and did not conduct, or at least they did not publish any tests done directly on the remains. Moreover, the dates that are written on the walls of the temple certainly could refer to times um, when Mayan rulers were really ruling the city. That is possible. However, the dates were recorded with the help of the Mayan calendar, and the Mayan calendar is cyclic by its nature. It's built on the idea of cycles, and moreover, the particular style that was used in this temple is the simplified Mayan calendar, which in simple words would mean that each and every date would repeat itself every 52 years. It would look the same, inscription would look the same. However, if the event has happened 52 years before, or many times 52 years before, it would still look the same. This is not a possibility. This is just such mistakes are inbuilt in the very nature of this calendar. And the way the historians interpret them is just they take the dates and they put them wherever they feel like it will look good according to their theory. However, in reality, those dates, even if they were carved by the very Mayans, could talk about events or people who died much longer before them. For example, they could be referring to ancient remains of their so-called gods or advanced beings that they were worshipping. Next question: how come there are no published results about laboratory dating of the skeleton that was found in the main sarcophagus, in the main burial chamber? If you read about any historic site, it will be always accompanied by carbon dating data from a lab, even if it is a very insignificant settlement. However, such data is absolutely absent for such an internationally recognized archaeological site and such a famous burial as this one in Palenque. This by itself is very suspicious. Did they really never make such a test? If they didn't, what prevented them from even trying? Or if they did conduct such tests, why they do not publish the results? Do the results really fit with the picture that they are trying to sell to us? The next question: although Palenque, and especially the Temple of Inscriptions, that is the room where the main sarcophagus is located, the main burial chamber, that's how it is called, the Temple of Inscriptions, although they are definitely world famous and regularly shown on famous TV channels, and so many international tourists visit the site daily, actually the access to this chamber is absolutely forbidden for everybody. Why? Not only that, but one is even forbidden to climb the stairs of the Temple of Inscriptions. Certainly this is not being done keeping in mind the safety of the historical site, as everything else in Palenque is absolutely opened without any safeguarding, and one can go anywhere else and do whatever one likes. However, exactly where the traces of a very ancient burials could be, one is absolutely prohibited to enter for any reason. We have no way to find out what is really there in the Temple of Inscriptions nowadays because we refused access. Maybe a clue will give us another burial chamber located very nearby. That full building is of course built in traditional Mayan style with all the rough stone masonry work. And so is the room where is the burial itself. However, the sarcophagus is made of huge and very well polished stones, a masonry work that would be far beyond the reach of the technology that the Maya had at their disposal. Since nowadays people are refused free access to the Temple of Inscriptions, we cannot say much about what is really in there, who was really buried there, was it really a Mayan ruler, or besides the Mayan burials over there, there were remains of a much older skeleton, maybe a skeleton that even belonged to the higher beings that our ancestors called gods. For now, this is only a hypothesis, but when is going humanity to discover the actual truth, the actual answer about who is buried over there? I think that this time will come when the humanity in general, the humanity in collective, starts feeling burning curiosity about its true origin and gets tired of living this life of war, fear, and suffering that is all around currently on the planet. Although this is an ayahuasca channel, I'm publishing so many videos on our ancient history because what I have learned from the great spirit of the Amazon that it is time for the humanity to awaken to its true nature. I think our awareness of the amazing magical powers that are inherent in every human being, this awareness will develop gradually, and the knowledge of our true origin will come along. Both things will come parallel to each other. And I never stop admiring Barbara Marciniak, who formulated it in such a beautiful way, calling us always the members of the family of life. I mean, us, the humans. Although this awareness, I believe, will come within a few centuries on Earth, within few centuries it will become uncommon for every human to think seriously about its origin and its powers. And currently I think we live in a very interesting historic moment, and these Russian people are a perfect example of the first humans who start really thinking seriously and do something about it. They could have stayed in Russia and just drink vodka until they forget themselves, as most Russian men still do. However, they chose a different path. They're so interested about who are they exactly, where did they come from, that they went to the other side of the world to seek the answers to this question.
When you let go of fear, the truth will appear, so simple and clear. When you let go of fear, the truth will appear, so simple and clear. There's a feeling inside, so deep and so wide, so